4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to another episode here of House Calls. I am the Skull Doc. This show is brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Dave. He's a little under the weather today, so our guest and I are going to probably carry a lot of this show and have Dave sprinkle in some thoughts here and there. But we have a special guest tonight. Steve is joining us. Steve, thank you so much for coming. How are you doing today, man?
Doing great. This day, it's like Christmas, really. When the schedule comes out, just one of my favorite days. You get to plan your road trip, whatever. You're going to go see the Vikes play. It's a great day. And
they do play the Cowboys, and it's at Dallas. So are you going to head over to that game?
Yeah, we did this for remember the Sunday night game back in 19? Dalvin and Kirk led them to the late win. I used to have an RV back then. We're going to rent one this time, but we do the full boat tailgate all day long. TV's going, watching the noon and 3 o'clock games. We'll have a big tailgate party. It'll be fun.
That's awesome, man.
Booking my flight to Dallas right now.
Come on down. There'll be. I mean, you guys know Vikes fans travel. They come to Dallas.
Oh, really good.
That time of year, there's gonna be 20,000 Vikings fans at that game.
It's kind of funny how well the Vikings fan base travels for being quote unquote small market franchise. I'm really proud of the Vikings fan base and how they travel and represent all over the country. So kudos to Vikings fans everywhere. Daniel is in the chat saying Skull Vikings.
Girls, this will be recorded, so you can watch it later if you want.
We went to the Jaguars game last year, and I mean that was a borderline a home game for the Vikes.
Yeah, LA tends to be a home game. We'll talk about that. They got another LA game this year. But I agree with you.
Sure.
You said that today's feels like Christmas. There's certain days in the year. The NFL just seems to dominate all year round, which is funny, and they do it very well. But draft day is fantastic. Free agency, when you get to start, you seeing all the leaks of the contracts come in, that is fantastic. And then schedule release day. And it's so funny because we know who they're playing already.
Right.
Just knowing when and where they're playing. Is it prime time? Is it noon? Is it a Thursday, Saturday, Sunday? It's just special because it gives you something to look forward to.
Well, and it really is. I go to road game every year. So this is huge for me because as soon as this comes out, I'm hoping, I don't want certain weekends because I want to be able to be with my family on the holidays and stuff. So you're just hoping you get certain weekends like the Cowboys game. Perfect weekend, December 14th. It's just a perfect weekend for the Cowboys game to be Vikes come down here.
100%. Like you were saying about the holidays, my heart actually dropped into my ass earlier when I thought that we were playing in Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, because I personally don't like the games on holidays when it's the Vikings. I like watching other teams play, but when it's my team, it's just added stress to the holiday that I don't really want to deal with. But I'll suck it up. We'll talk. We're going to talk about these games. But when they had both holidays, I was like, oh no. But the poor Lions, I think they are playing on both holidays.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, and you knew the Vikes were going to get one of them. With playing both Dallas and Detroit, possibly on Thanksgiving, and the Christmas in play. I thought it was pretty much guaranteed we were going to be on one of those 2 days.
That's a good point. Yeah. It is a good chance every year that they draw the Thanksgiving game in particular, just being, on Detroit's schedule, on Dallas's schedule, like you said. But let's just jump into the schedule here. And before we go into the week one and go week by week and pick the schedule, just some broad points that I wanted to throw out there and get your thoughts on. Number one, there's a lot of prime time games on this schedule. I mean, the NFL expects the Vikings to be pretty damn good. Despite J.J. McCarthy coming in as a quote-unquote rookie, first-year starter, whatever you want to say, I've been a big proponent of I don't like to call him a rookie because he's had a full offseason in the classroom with KOC. He's going to be able to run this offense at a high level from the start of camp. But, I mean, I was surprised to see how many national televised games that they're getting, just counting them here. Monday night at Chicago, and then week 2, Sunday Night Football at Atlanta. And then you have a couple games, 8:30 starts across the pond over in Dublin and then over in London. And then you got a 7:15 Thursday nighter at LA against the Chargers. Then you have a 3:05 game against the Seahawks. So not nationally televised there, but still a middle game, where there's going to be more. It's more than just a noon game. And then you have the 7:20 at Dallas that you're probably going to go to. That'll be a great game. You have the 3:30 game Thursday against the Detroit Lions. That's a Christmas Day game. Yep. And then the last week 18, is a Green Bay Packer game at home. That's going to be TBD. So who knows when that game's going to take place. So quite a few nationally televised games. What were your thoughts on the Vikings having so many of those?
I mean, KOC is a league darling. I mean, everyone pretty much knows now how good a coach he is, how good an offensive game plan he not only designs but actually calls. I think that's a big part of it. I think it's a draw. You know, a 13-10 game isn't exactly that exciting on Christmas Day, but playing the Lions, pretty good chance that's going to be, 31-30 game going down to the wire, just like it was last year at home.
They may have moved like the Eagles game to the afternoon, things like that. I mean, we kind of lead the league in storylines. You got we're playing the Chargers, and we almost got him as a coach, and now he's his proteges are our quarterback. So it's like we kind of lead the league in storylines, and you throw in the rivalries and how good the division is. We're bound to have a lot, but this is crazy. 7, and I wouldn't be shocked if we end up with 8 or 9, at least prime time or 4 o'clock or they might move it to Sunday night kind of thing. I mean, you may have moved that Packers game to Sunday night.
Yeah. I don't think they're moving the Giants on the December 21st.
Yeah, we're pretty safe with that one. Who knows, though? Maybe the Giants, turn it around. I don't know.
A couple of things I actually was surprised, but yes, 7 primetime games is a lot. But then I didn't understand why the Falcons in week 2, when you have the Bengals in week 3, why not flip those? I mean, Burrow coming to US Bank Stadium, that seems like a much better game to have on Sunday Night Football versus the Falcons. And then there's a huge chunk of noon games, which surprised me. Noon against the Bengals, noon against the Ravens. Why are those games not at 3:25?
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I mean, it just has to do with who else is playing at those time slots, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But those are some heavy matchups here. Great matchups, very good teams. To your point with Atlanta week 2, it's got to be the rookie quarterbacks. The league is just trying to play these rookies.
Or
we wanted, but young quarterbacks.
We also were looking at Penix.
But I tell you what,
then they take Penix, which I'll be on draft night. I was shocked by that. I thought I was just hoping JJ would get past them, but when they took Penix, that floored me.
Yeah, I was a big Penix guy. I like both JJ and Penix. Like, I'm happy with either one. I do like McCarthy's upside more, but Penix can throw a damn good ball. But
it's the knees though that bothered me. I mean, 2 ACLs in college, that's concerning.
And some shoulder injury stuff too, I believe. Yeah. Well, let's jump into week 1 here.
Boom.
Vikings.
Monday Night Football, Soldier Field. Love it.
Who leads the league in Monday Night Football games other than the Bears and the Vikings?
Seriously.
Jesus, that's the only time we play, I think.
So this is going to be in my backyard. You got the Bears-Vikings house divided flag behind me. And no, I don't go to Soldier Field. I've had so first of all, I'm a big proponent of I like to watch the game from the comfort of my house. I can go to the bathroom whenever I want. I'm comfortable here. But especially
a beer's $1 versus $12.
Yeah, when I've went to Soldier Field in the past, it hasn't been the best experience because I just don't. I would fit much better into an area where I'm rooting for my own home team. I try to bite my tongue a little bit, but it's hard for me. I'm
You're
loud.
a little bit of a shit talker too. So.
A little bit. So I don't go to Bears games here. With that said, though, I mean, it's a great starting point for the league on a Monday Night Football game. This is where JJ McCarthy is from. He went to LaGrange, 15 minutes down the road from me here. Went to high school at Naz, won a high school championship for them. Probably grew up a Bears fan. I haven't heard much about his fandom, but he probably grew up a Bears fan. And so now he gets to go play at Soldier Field for his first NFL start, which is pretty cool. And in terms of this matchup here, I think, this could be a very good game for week 1. I mean, Caleb Williams looked pretty good against us in Chicago last year because, being in their stadium, we couldn't really confuse him as much with, snap counts and everything like that. So he did pretty good against us. but we still ended up winning that game. And going into this game this year, I think the X factor is going to be this new revamped Vikings interior offensive line against the Bears defense that wasn't very good against the run last year. This is McCarthy's first start. It's Monday Night Football. I wouldn't be surprised to see a game script that runs the football a lot, a little bit lower scoring game. You're going to see a lot of TJ Hawkinson, a lot of Jordan Addison, not as much Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, during this game. It's just kind of the way the Bears, the way they guard him on defense, they take him away, but we'll take a lot of underneath stuff. So I think the Vikings, my prediction, the Vikings will win this game in a lower scoring, close sort of game to start the season 1-0. Steve, what do you think about this game?
I like the game. I love Bears Monday Night Football. The thing about the Bears and Ben Johnson, I don't know what you guys think, but I think Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive coordinators in football. His play calling is just, I think he's brilliant. What we don't know about him is what we know now about O'Connell, which we didn't know when Kevin came to the Minnesota. Kevin is a great play design, play caller, but he's also an awesome leader and manager of a team. We don't know that about Ben Johnson. We know he's a great play caller. How actually, now that he's the head man, we'll see something different. But I like the Vikes a lot. I think they're going to, I think they're going to run a lot. But the best way for a young quarterback is don't putting him in third and longs. I think you're going to see a lot of first down play action passes because those are the easiest passes to complete. I think offense will score 20 plus. I like our chances in Chicago.
And he's very good at it. Play action and the threat to run too is there. And honestly, I think Kevin O'Connell always has deep shots down the field in the play that, sometime during the game he's going to go deep.
And JJ throws a nice deep ball.
He may run and do short passes and, and bubble screens and stuff and tight ends. And, he may do all that, but he's going to take a couple shots because he knows what he has. He has a guy with a strong arm.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason type of game. I think that we're going to kind of look at this team and be like, whoa, that's a different KOC looking offense, because I really think they're going to lean on the run week one. And, I think that we will be able to pressure Caleb Williams in this game against Braxton Jones. We'll have some matchups with 3 different defensive ends we can put against him. I think he's an average left tackle. He could get them in trouble a little bit. The Vikings had a good run defense last year. I expect that to carry forward this year. And the Bears, as of right now, have DeAndre Swift still and not much else going on back there. Roschon Johnson, more of a bigger back goal line type of guy. And then they have like this undrafted free agent, I think, that they got, but I don't know anything about him. So long story short, I agree with you guys. I think that the Vikings start 1-0, and I'm going to keep track of our records here as we go. I got it all written down. So let's go to week 2. This is the Sunday Night Football game where the Vikings break in the Bank Stadium against the Falcons. Sunday Night Football. So we're going to see Michael Penix against JJ McCarthy. Steve, let's start with your thoughts on this game.
I think putting a lot of pressure on a guy like Michael Penix. I think Dallas Turner year 2, Grenard, Van Ginkel, the interior pressure now with Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. I just think putting a lot of pressure on Penix, and I think we can make some magic there with a couple picks. I like the Vikes to win by 2 scores.
Yeah, much like you said, Skoldock in the first game is like the new defensive line. The interior rush is going to make a big difference this year in these first 2 games, and honestly, I think we can. Penix hasn't got a whole lot of games under his belt in the NFL yet. That first game he played, his defense went nuts in that game, that first game. So it made him look a little better than what he was. He was solid. He didn't win those games, right? He didn't win any games. He was just solid. But I think we can. Our defense is gonna be too much for him.
I totally agree with you guys. I think that this matchup really comes down to the Vikings defense overpowering the Falcons offense. They lost their center in Drew Dahlman. Michael Penix is not the most mobile quarterback, so I like the Vikings to win this game. I have more confidence in the Vikings winning this game than they do win in week 1 against the Bears.
I agree.
So I'm going to have them going to 2-0 along with you, gentlemen. And just real quick, going back on the Bears, echoing what you guys said, they're going to have to prove it to us before I start picking them over the Vikings. They win the offseason every year, but they need to win games. And so if they start showing me that they're taking steps forward, I'll start picking them at home over the Vikings. But until they do that, I'm just going to keep rolling with the purple. So let's go to week 3 then. We all have the Vikings starting 2-0 on the season. And that's when the Cincinnati Bengals come into town. Now, before the schedule was leaked, I said, please God, give me the Bengals in September. And the football gods answered my prayers.
Trey will be there.
Yeah, that's another thing. Their defensive end, Trey Hendrickson, I like that guy, by the way. As a football player and as a man, I don't know if you guys saw his comments about how the business has become personal and it's really hurting him because he loves the city. That's where his son was born and everything like that. And it sucks, man. I think that the Bengals are doing him dirty. But for the reasons of historical slow starts with the Bengals, they have zero defense.
Yeah.
I think that the Vikings can slow them down enough, force a couple turnovers perhaps at home to beat the Bengals in week 3 at the bank. I'm gonna take a win here.
Dave, you going or me?
You.
Okay.
You're second.
This I agree. I think the Vikes will win. I think both Cincinnati's offense is great. Very good. Their weakest point is they can give up some pressure, which dials into what some of the things we do best on defense. And I don't think they can stop our offense. I think that defense was god awful last year, and I don't think they added a lot. And they now may lose by far their best piece, maybe sitting out, if not the whole year. Definitely could be some games in September. I like our chances.
I mean, when you match up the teams, their offenses are pretty. I mean, they got an experienced quarterback, so they got that on us. But you get the rest of the weapons; it's pretty even. But the thing that sets it apart is the defense, and it's home. And the bank has now become a really good home field advantage when it once wasn't, but now it is, and I think that's going to set it apart.
All right, so we all have them going to 3-0. Hot start for the Minnesota Vikings.
Looks like undefeated there.
Yeah. Week 4, we are flying across the pond, playing the Steelers in Dublin, correct?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Dave, you want to start us out here?
Hang on. There we go. So,
and let's assume that Aaron Rodgers is playing quarterback for him.
Oh yeah, keep forgetting about that.
So, when I thought, it came out that we're going to open with the Lions, right? And then they were going to open with someone else, or this week 2, I was like, oh crap. But this has turned out great. Vikings, Falcons, Bengals at home. And then you go across the pond where we're going to have home field advantage with an Irish coach and an Irish quarterback. I'm pretty happy about that. I really hope that they give them some media training because the Irish don't like the British all that much, and there's still some tension, and there's some things like last thing I want to see is a Vikings player talk about how they're in Britain. That would just piss off the entire country. Hopefully there's some media training on that. But I like it's different, right? But in the past, we under O'Connell, we have gone on the Thursday, I think, to overseas rather than spend the whole week. Back with Zimmer, we actually went for the entire week. But the last time we went, O'Connell said, "Hey, I want to keep the routine. We do everything, and then on travel days, whatever Friday or whatever it is, and they're going to do that." Well, the advantage is going into the next game is that we'll be there the whole week, and the Browns aren't. So this is setting up well.
So you have them winning this game against the Steelers?
I'm gonna have us winning. I don't think the Steelers have enough. I'm not guaranteeing Rodgers being there. And if he's not, there's nothing there to worry about, I think. And he did throw 3 interceptions against us in London.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, man. Like Rodgers or no Rodgers, I think Rodgers is cooked. So offensively, I don't think the Steelers will have enough firepower to beat the Vikings. That's what it comes down to.
They lost Pickens, right?
They lost Pickens. So they have DK Metcalf, and then they're going to roll with Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, a couple of younger wideouts, unless they go get somebody. But I like Caleb Johnson a lot, that running back that they got in the draft. But with that said, I still don't think it's going to be enough. And the biggest factor in this game to me is that if it was at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, I would have picked the Steelers over the Vikings because their defense is that damn good at Heinz Field. But when you take away from that field, they become more average, especially in the pass rush department, because that's the scariest part of that defense. So I think you can beat them on a neutral field. That's what it's going to come down to. So I'll take the Vikings winning in Dublin to get to 4-0.
So you guys pretty much mentioned it. I think right now it's Mason Rudolph. If Rodgers comes back and plays all offseason when all these rumors are out there, I never bought it for one time because it's been 3 years since Rodgers was a good quarterback. And now he's 2 years removed from the Achilles, but still a major injury. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is – I know he's not MVP level. I don't think he's even a good quarterback anymore. So either way, I like our chances there. And again, talking about it, you go from a massive home field advantage for the Steelers to, I think, at a minimum, a slight home advantage for the Vikings. That is such a humongous swing in how that game is viewed. So I got them 4-0 also.
I mean, this schedule is just setting up for a beautiful start with the Vikings. And even if they do lose week 1 on Monday Night Football in Chicago, they're 3-1, they're 3-1 at this point, right? So it wouldn't be the end of the world if they do drop that first game in Chicago.
You hate to see it, though.
You'd hate to see it. You always want to win week 1, especially against a divisional opponent, especially against Bears fans who've been talking a lot of shit this offseason, especially
as always
pointed towards JJ McCarthy. So you'd really like to see JJ win that game there in his hometown of Chicago. But I will say that I was hoping for a home game for JJ's first start, not to start on the road Monday Night Football in a ruckus home or away environment. So that is the one thing where when I looked at the schedule, my first glance, I was like, that's not really what I was looking for.
Legends were made, man.
There you go.
You got to continue winning in Chicago.
No excuses. Play like a champion, right?
Well, and I know it's not college football, but the way JJ handled himself going into Ohio State, you cannot go. Ohio State fans, no, I don't know if anybody's a big Ohio State, but they're tough fans. They can be pretty rough. And that is as tough environment as you're going to find in college football. And he went in there, and I thought
100,000, 120,000 people and a band.
Brilliantly. So I don't think that stuff bothers him. He's wired a little bit different than a lot of young guys. I don't think that stuff gets to him.
Yeah, I agree, man. Let's go to week 5 here with Vikings at Browns. So they're going to take a short flight from Dublin down to London, and they're going to stay there for the week and practice, and their body clocks are going to be acclimated at that point. You get the Cleveland Browns flying out, playing the Vikings. I already saw the line where the Vikings were slight favorites against the Steelers. They are 7-point favorites against the Browns. I don't know why those lines even exist right now, but they do. I also saw Matthew Collar talking about historically when you're at least a 7-point favorite across the pond, those wins or those teams win at a historical clip. So the underdogs, the underdogs do not win in London if they are more than a 7-point dog. So all these signs point towards the Vikings not only beating the Browns, but beating them by a lot. So I'm going to have them starting 5-0.
I agree completely. And in fact, like you mentioned, I think a pretty massive rest advantage when you talk about that they have to do that big flight and we don't. Plus, is it going to be Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Flacco? I mean, any one of those three, either two rookies or Flacco, who we dominated last year. I think that this game could get ugly.
Anything to add, Dave?
No, I think I said it. I kind of dipped my toe into it when I was talking about the Steelers. Is that, and I want all sorts of bad things to happen to the Browns. They deserve it. They the way they handle their quarterback situation in Cleveland, it's absolutely awful.
And an owner who's, no offense, but not a good person.
No,
the truck driver. I know the trucking industry. That owner he's not a good guy. Not many billionaires are probably good guys, but Haslett is definitely not a good guy.
Yeah, I feel for Browns fans because
for sure
they've had it. They've just been down deep in it for a long time. But I agree with everything you just said. So all three of us had the Vikings improving 5-0
Oh, that scares me.
at the bye week.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not a repeat of what year was that when they started 5-0 and then everything Zimmer's
Like
eye
Tice.
fell out and
Yeah.
2016.
That was
Yeah,
they end
sounds
the year with
right.
the Cardinals and the play at the end of the game, so we don't make the playoffs. Just
Bridgewater.
awful.
that was that the Sam Bradford year and then his knee
Yeah,
blew
Bridgewater
up.
got hurt. Sam
Yep.
Bradford came
Oh, that
in.
year. Okay, I was talking about the previous 5-0 team. Yeah, you're right. The Bradford year 5-0. That was what 15, 16.
And then his knee fell apart in Chicago or something like that.
No, that was the next year when Keenum came in 17 and actually
Oh.
saved the season.
Yeah,
You're right.
17. And
You're
then
right.
then he benched Keenum and then put him in at halftime at the Bears game and took us back and won the game. Bears were terrible that year.
I
Yep.
believe Monday Night Football
Yes.
in Chicago.
Of course.
Yep. All right. So week 6, we have the bye week. So we're going into the bye week. We all have the Vikings at 5-0.
Just like last year.
Yep. Week 7. So we're coming out of the bye week. I believe we have the Eagles at home. Now, personally, I don't know if it's a fallacy or what, but I feel like the Vikings have come out flat in recent years off of a bye, and you're
Yes.
playing
Yes.
the Super Bowl champion Eagles at home. I'm going to have this as a loss.
Yeah, I mean, we went through a lot going through, overseas, and sure it's a bye week, but there's got to be some sort of reset. There's going to be the body, the mind, whatever is going to happen, and the Eagles are good, and they're going to, feed off of that. They might be better than they were last year. It's just, they just keep getting better. They keep drafting good.
So good.
They're just ridiculous. So yeah, they could come in and beat us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the D line there is ridiculous.
I because it's at home, I think it could be like last year. You're playing a huge noon game after the Europe trip and the bye week. Last year was Detroit. This year Philadelphia. I think like last year, because it's at home, we have a shot. But I that's a tough game. Philadelphia is so good. So I agree. I'm with you on 5-1.
Okay. I'd always like to look at that as a positive. Oh, you're coming off a bye. You're well rested. You got a really good team at home. Go take care of business. It would be an awesome win. It'd be a great win. I just feel like over the years, we've seen more so the team come out flat rather than looking well rested and ready to go. And I think it's just human nature.
Well, and it'd be a huge win, because at that point, if you are 5-0 and you have a chance to go 6-0, it's not only 6-0, but you just beat probably your main competition for the number 1 seed.
Yep.
And we know now, with only one team getting a bye, the 1 seed is such a massive advantage as far as going to the Super Bowl. Except for Detroit.
Yeah, we don't need that reminder. All right, who we playing week 8?
Awesome.
At the Chargers.
This is where I was saying we lead the league in storylines.
So
this is like a double key in comic books.
This is really tough because this is a short week.
Like last
flying out to LA like last year, and we owned that stadium in terms of fan base. That was a home game for us.
Yep.
But we did not play well that
Not at
game.
all.
That was when Christian Darrisaw got hurt.
Yep.
So that was a factor. I'm going to chalk this down as a schedule loss, not because I think the Chargers are better than the Vikings, but just because I don't trust the Vikings to travel out there on a short week across the country and win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a win just because I think we're a better team than the Chargers. But yes, everything goes to that being a schedule loss. It absolutely is. Like last year, tough travel after a physical opponent at home. Shuts a short week to play in LA. But I think the home field advantage is going to be even more pronounced because LA is still much more a Rams town than a Chargers town. That stadium is going to be easily 2/3 Vikings fans. And I'm thinking that our defense can get the job done enough to get us a win.
Yeah, it's the fact that we're coming off losing the Eagles and then we kind of come back and play Thursday night with all the storylines of, the coach and protege, and I just think this is one of those games that could easily be a loss, and I'm gonna tip it that way. I think like Steve says, I do think we're better than the Chargers. I think the Chargers got better than they did last year. I think they got better.
Mhm.
And so I'll lean it towards them just because of the coming off the Eagles loss and then playing Thursday night.
I
Their
love
offensive
Amari on
line-
Hampton.
Their offensive line is loaded. I mean, their offensive
Mm-hmm.
line is one of the best in the NFL.
See,
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm a big
says
Herbert fan.
He treats all linemen like weapons. He considers them weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. So right now I have him at 5-2. Dave has him at 5-2. Steve has him at 6-1. So we're going into week 9 now. So it's a mini bye. They're going to have a little extra time, and I believe they're going to play at Lions, so at Detroit. So this is a tough 3-game stretch here, right?
Absolutely.
This
Eagles.
is probably our toughest stretch. I think.
This is the 4-game stretch that is by
And we
far
play
the
the
next game. I think
Ravens
is the
after
Ravens. This is
Yeah.
their toughest stretch of the season.
So I'm going to have this as a win because the
Ooh.
Vikings are a good team. I have them losing 2 in a row. I don't think the good team is going to lose 3 in a row. Okay. So I'm going to have the Vikings win here in Detroit. I think the Vikings have really closed the gap talent wise. And I think that Detroit having 2 new coordinators, although at week 9, they might have a little bit more of that figured out and get into a rhythm. I do think that's going to affect the team, and they're not going to be the Ben Johnson show anymore and just run on all cylinders all the time. So might be a little bit of a homer take for me, but I'm going to have them win in Detroit.
So I'm going to have it as a loss just because it's in Detroit and we've struggled to play there. But let me say this about Detroit. Remember when we had Brad Childress? When we got him from the Eagles, part of the Andy Reid tree, I'm like, oh my God, yes, Andy Reid's offense coordinator coming in. This is going to be awesome. He installed all the game plans for Reid and all that. But Andy Reid called the plays. There is a big difference between installing a game plan and actually on Sunday when the bullets are flying, calling good, creative, imaginative plays. Ben Johnson, one of the best in the NFL about calling the right play at the right time. That is a huge drop-off to what they have now. A guy that I looked at his career today. He's had 2 years as an offense coordinator. Everywhere else in 25 years, and that was in college, 2 years at USC. Everywhere else, he's been a senior offense assistant or a tight ends coach or whatever. That is if he was a good play caller, he would be calling plays throughout his career. He hasn't been. I think that's going to be a huge effect on the Lions. I think they're going to struggle way more than they're anticipating this year. But until I see that, I still count this as a loss.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Lions finishing 3rd in the division.
Wow, it could definitely.
And it's not because of talent; it's because of the coaching.
Yes.
And look at their
100%.
schedule. Look at their away game.
Oh, and their schedule sucks.
It's crazy.
But
they play the Chiefs,
that doesn't
right?
mean
Don't
that
they
they're
have
gonna. That doesn't mean anything about playing us. But I do think our coaching is better than Lions, and our talent's just as good, or almost as we're right there with them. So, and then our defense has improved. This is gonna be this is a different Lions team, and I equated it to the Cincinnati Bengals of yesteryear, where they lost Zimmer and they lost Gruden, and the head coach was fired in 2 years. This is the same thing. I feel like I don't know if their head coach is the brains behind the situation. He's the vocal leader of the
rah
team.
rah guy.
Yeah.
And is he going to be going for it forth with, like you said, a very mediocre, if not career of an offensive, coordinator? So it's going to be different. And I think we win this game.
All right. So we are now all at 6-2. And again, for me, part of picking the schedule is just reacting to how did it fall from a scheduling standpoint. And I think the mini bye, the extra rest going into this game is really helpful for the Vikings. And that's why, and I agree with everything that Dave said. That's why I kind of tilted the scales towards the Vikings in this game. So we all have the Vikings at 6-2 here going into week 10. Ravens come to the Vikings. Now, this is another really tough game. And the Vikings have, by the grace of God, they do get to play these good teams at home, like the Bengals, like the Ravens, like the Eagles. So it gives you a better chance of winning these tough games that are really going to matter at the end of the year. With that said, I'm still going to take the Ravens over the Vikings because I think Lamar Jackson is fantastic. I love John Harbaugh. I think it's a really good team. And it's just tough to beat the Ravens. So I'm going to take the Ravens over the Vikings in this game.
Unfortunately, I'm with you. Lamar's tough. It's the running ability. It just, he has been susceptible in games where he could get pressured and he doesn't look as good, but he is so good. And even though we're at home, I would love to see us to win here, but I think it's a loss.
Because you guys picked him to lose. I want to pick him to win, but I'm not. So, the thing with the Ravens, there's some part of the season where they're just hitting on all cylinders. So we might be facing them when they're hitting on all cylinders. And what sucks here is they actually, and I didn't look deep into it. Like, is he good with the, with loud stadiums and silent counts and all that? Is he good in those situations? I don't know, but he can run really good. So I don't think it matters all that much. And again, their defense is still good. They've got a really good coach. We're going to lose to both brothers apparently as head coaches. But yeah, 6-3, week 10, and we lost 2 at home. So there goes that home field advantage we had.
It's a tough home schedule though, and that's not the end of the world. Obviously, you don't want to lose at home, but if you're losing to the Eagles and to the Ravens at home, I think it's understandable, right? Don't lose to the Bears at home.
Exactly.
Which is next.
And the Bears at home.
Bears at Vikings.
At noon.
Not much to say
Miracle.
here. Last time that we played Caleb Williams at home, we turned him into a meme. He was dead on the field, and then he died on the bench again. So somebody resuscitated him just to die again on the bench. So I'm going to give the Vikings a win there, 7-3.
Yeah, not much to talk about here. We're just better than them, I think, and add the fact that we improved our D-line. I really like us.
It's games like this where, again, Grenard, AVG, and again, I'm a big believer in Dallas Turner. I get so tired of this talk about his disappointing rookie year. It's disappointing because look at the guys in front of him. When he played, he had moments of really good athletic play. I think year 2 in Flores defense, I think DT is going to go off. And it's games like this where he's going to start looking like a young Micah Parsons.
I just want to say real quick, I know I'm going to have Bears friends, maybe family watching this, and they're going to be like, wow, you picked the Vikings to sweep the Bears, and it didn't sound like you really hesitated that much in doing so. Again, week 1, I do think it's going to be a very close game. I could see the Bears winning that game. It'll probably be like a 3-point or less spread that game. But the Vikings at home are going to be tough. And I do think the Bears have become a better team. They're making strides. They're definitely on the right path. I still don't think they're as good as the Vikings. That's why I'm taking the Vikings like so easily at home. But I just wanted to point that out. Like, I do think the Bears are getting better. They could win, 8 to 10 games this year, but I just think the Vikings are still a better team overall. And a lot of the Bears fans who doubt the Vikings, their only point is JJ McCarthy. This guy hasn't played. That's it. That's the only point. And it's like, well, Jaden Daniels never played a game before last year. He did pretty good, right? And I'm not saying McCarthy's Jaden Daniels, but he was taken like 6, 7, 8 picks after Jaden Daniels. Like, he's still a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So, we have high hopes for McCarthy. He's got the most talent around him for a starting, situation that we've seen in a long time in the NFL. So I don't really see the reason to doubt McCarthy until he shows us he can't do it. And his limited sample last training camp, he showed us he can do it. He looked pretty damn good. So that's what I got to say. That's why I have the Vikings sweeping the Bears this year.
Well, and I agree that Monday Night Football in Chicago, we haven't blown them out in Chicago. And I remember way back when, you might remember when Del Rio, Dave, you might remember when Del Rio played linebacker for a middle line for years. We went into Soldier Field on a Monday night and just blew their doors. I don't think we've blown them out in Chicago basically since then on Monday Night Football. So that game, if any history is anything, it's going to be close. I think we can win, but I think it's going to be close.
All right, I think so. We all have the Vikings going 7-3 after week 11. Now we take a trip out to Lambeau Field, week 12. We're playing the Packers. Can somebody let me know what the date is on this game?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I got it. Oh, hold on. I did have it. Here I go. So
it's the week before Thanksgiving?
November 23rd. So that should be Thanksgiving week. That's a noon game. So it's probably going to be 30 degrees or something like that. Cold, but not freezing. So that's a tough one. Somebody go first. Dave, why don't you hit us first?
I think we just got so many more weapons than the Packers. I do think we don't play too bad in cold weather. And I don't think 30 might be pushing it. November, it could still be, in the 40s and stuff like that. It all depends on how windy it is and things like that, but that affects them too. And what, I just think we're better than the Packers. They were 1-5 last year in the division, and only the reason they weren't 0-6 is because of a blocked field goal.
That's right.
They have a lot to prove, and by this point, I think McCarthy has figured it out. He's hitting on all cylinders. We're opening the offense, and our defense is just killing it. We don't have the same defense, I think, as last year. I don't think we do. I think it's different.
It's better. Yeah.
Better.
And we had a top 5 defense last year.
Yes. Yeah. I think, look at the 2 games last year against the Packers. Yes, the scores at the end were close. Both games, with about 10 minutes to go in the games, Vikings were up 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I think we are clearly a better football team than the Packers. I think O'Connell outcoaches LaFleur every time they meet up. We've played, in 3 years under O'Connell, we have played very well in Lambeau. So I just think we're a better football team. And like Dave said, JJ by then will have that's his 10th week in the system. I think he's fine by that point. I think we look good and we win.
This is really a coin flip game to me. I think we've won the last 2 years in Lambeau. Kirk tore his Achilles, and we won that game. And then last year we won in Lambeau. We were up 28-0 before Naylor muffed a punt, and they kind of let him back into it there. So I think I'm going to smell what you guys are stepping in. I'm going to go along with what you guys are saying. I think the Vikings are a better team. And I don't think the Packers necessarily did enough this offseason to close the gap. So I'm going to say it's a win. So we all have the Vikings going to 8-3 now.
Real quick about the Packers. I know everyone's talking about they finally drafted a receiver in the first round, but the funny thing is, though, that was already probably their strongest and deepest position. And I know Watson's going to miss part of the year and maybe all of the year, but you drafted 2 of your top 3 picks were receivers. That's like the Vikings drafting 2 edge rushers at first and third. I guess they did have a first and third. I get that you brought in 2 guys and you haven't drafted forever, but you can't play 5 receivers at a time. So you just put more ammunition in a spot where you can only play so many guys.
Yeah, they are just desperately grasping for a guy like Justin Jefferson. Just give us a number 1 wide receiver, because they have a bunch of like number 2, number 3 type wide receivers, and they need someone to be the alpha for Jordan Love to basically be worth his contract. Because right now I think they're a little nervous with that contract and what the output is that they're getting from Love, because so far Love has shown us that he's not the kind of quarterback that can be like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen who can elevate the team. He's still a sum of his parts, right? So he needs help to really make that offense go. And they're trying to give him that help so that they can, do the things that they need to do to be as high as possible in pass game EPA to go far in the playoffs, because I truly believe that Matt LaFleur is a big proponent of the pass game.
Well, and you mentioned they have a lot of number 2s. I agree with you. And also, you see the helmet behind me. My wife's family are all UT grads, humongous Longhorn, fan club down here. Watched every Longhorns game. Matthew Golden is exactly that. He is not your alpha number 1. He wasn't the go-to guy for the Longhorns until Isaiah Bond got hurt. He is a classic number 2 guy. I don't see him being the Justin Jefferson type alpha number 1.
You remind me of Jordan Addison a lot.
Yes. And
I posted that, hey, the Packers finally drafted a wide receiver 2. All they need is a wide receiver 1 now.
Daniel, it's funny that you said Dave says the cheese stinks, because my daughter Ellie, she's 3, she calls the Packers stinky cheese.
Nice, that's good.
Oh well.
Let's go on to our next game here. So we all have the Vikings 8-3 going into Seattle. Every year,
did we figure out how to beat Seattle?
I think so. Every year we have to go out to Seattle late in the year. I don't understand it, but it's like clockwork. And every year we play at Seattle. They never come to play at our
And it's
house.
cold and rainy. Cold,
Yeah.
just miserable weather. That's just the way it is.
So, Steve, how is the
You think we're gonna
Darnold?
blitz?
How do you think this Darnold reunion is going to go?
I think we're going to dominate.
Okay.
That's why I said,
I
do you
thought
think we're
Sam
gonna
was really
blitz?
good last year, but I also thought that you can't like JJ this year. Sam could not have been in a better position last year with the weapons around him, the bookend tackles, and KOC. There's not a if I was the dad of a quarterback, there's not a coach or a team in the league that I would want my son to go to more than the Minnesota Vikings. And you saw how McCarthy's dad was on draft day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the perfect situation for him. And I think Sam's going to find out that not everywhere is like Minnesota when it comes to having KOC and JJ and Jordan Addison and TJ. I think he's going to go back. Maybe not as bad. I think Sam's better than that. But I think he's going to come back, crashing back to earth a little bit and be maybe an average, above average quarterback. And I think we know exactly how to play him. I think we'll dominate him. I think it's going to be a rough day for Sam Darnold.
His offensive line is still not good. So
They got rid of Metcalf.
Yeah. Great. And the other long time was it Tyler Lockett. So they were down two weapons.
Like, let's get Sam Darnold and then get rid of his receivers.
With an offensive line that is not great. So, but they did get Zabel, which I think Zabel's going to be a great pro.
Give me the Vikings by like 10 that game. Dave, you got to win in 2, right?
Yes.
So we're all.
They don't win is the Seattle weirdness that happens sometimes when we go out there.
Yeah, it's raining,
Like
fumbles.
the rain might be coming in sideways.
Yeah. So we all have them at 9-3 right now going into the next game.
Which is
Commanders at Vikings. This is going to be a fun one to watch. I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. He's on my
Again, it's at
dynasty
noon,
squad.
though. How is this game not at 3:25? I mean, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy from the same draft class.
This would be one of those key games where they might move it, flex it.
You would think.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think this has shootout written all over it. If our defense makes Jaden struggle, then the Vikings are going to win this one handily because I don't really believe in the Commanders' defense all that much. As well as they did play against Detroit in that playoff game. I love it. That was probably one of the most fun games I've had all year watching football. Do you guys not agree?
Oh, it was nice.
That was awesome.
I was listening on the radio. I was working, and it was
It's hard to not cheer against Detroit Lions fans because, man, now that they've gotten good, there's a level of arrogance that it's like, wow.
So much. I'm going to say the Vikings have a better team, and if Jaden Daniels doesn't go superhuman and win this game himself, then the Vikings will win. I'm going to have the Vikings winning this to go to 10-3, but I could easily see the Commanders beating us at home.
Yeah, because of Jaden. I mean, he's got otherworldly ability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm predicting right now. I think the Commanders are going to struggle a bit this year, and I think he's going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump. Also, I'm sorry, you can't run that much and be as tiny as he is or skinny as he is. You cannot run that much and it not start at some point having just little nickel and dime, sore knee, twisted ankle. That stuff's going to happen. And I think he's going to have a bit of a few more injuries, a few more downtime. I think he's going to have a bit of a sophomore slump.
It might be good the fact that it's later in the season too.
Yes. I'm going to take the Vikes.
Okay.
And I'll take the Vikings too, but pretty much the same thing you said, Skoldoc. But we are a better team than the Commanders. I don't know why they got them ranked 3rd. I mean, the Lions just played stupid.
Yeah.
The Commanders are good though. Their defense still going to have question marks. We're just a better overall team than they are, talent wise. But superhuman thing that happens is Jaden Daniels, winning on his own. And I thought he was a complete quarterback. I don't know what the people thought he was a running quarterback coming out of college. I thought he threw a great deep ball.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that what was it, Arizona State?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's pretty bad at ASU. Yep. And then he transferred to LSU.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he he changes work habits, and
Mhm.
JJ McCarthy seems to have similar work habits than him. So it's going to be really neat. Two up and coming stars in the league, and hopefully by this point.
It's a fun season because we get to see Caleb Williams versus JJ week 1, and then week 2 you get Penix versus
And
JJ. Now you get Jaden Daniels versus JJ. So you're seeing
yeah, we
these young
lead the
guys.
league. I'd said we lead the league in storylines.
Mm-hmm. So we all have the Vikings winning. We're all at 10-3 going into Sunday
Here we
Night
go.
Football in Dallas. We're going to let Steve start us out here because he'll probably be at the game and he knows the Cowboys better than we do. So take it away.
Yeah, I think Pickens is going to be helpful for the Cowboys. I think that's, Dak is a very good quarterback. He can have stretches where he just doesn't play well, but I think Dak is going to put up some numbers this year. Pickens is going to be very good. But Micah, I think Micah Parsons' best years, he's already had them. He's already at a point where he's physically, he has his peak physically, 22, 23 years old. He's already starting to slow down just maybe a step or two. And when your game is nothing but speed, losing that one step makes you, you're not quite the superhuman being you used to be. I think the Vikes win that game. I think, again, I come back to we're a better football team. We're a more complete football team. And they're not going to have home field advantage. I mean, they talk about it down here all the time. Cowboys just do not have much of a home field advantage. They don't have a great record at home. This game's almost better to be on the road for the Vikes than it is at home. And Vikings fans, I'll have the RV out. We'll have the flag going. You're welcome to come.
Love it.
Yeah, Jerry World's. It's like the fans are far away from the stadium. There's too much to look at, too much to do. People are distracted. It doesn't seem like a big, like you said, a home field advantage for them. It's kind of been that way since they opened the stadium. But it's another game that we're, it's late in the season. Again, J.J. McCarthy's figured it out. We're voting the offense. I just think we're a better all-around team than they are. Zimmer's not the D coordinator anymore, right? He's moved on.
Yeah, I
he's
think
out.
it switched out everybody with Schottenheimer coming in.
Yeah, that was so bad. Yeah, so I'm going with that. I'm going with us beating the Cowboys on the road and Sunday Night Football.
I will say that if the secondary ends up being our kryptonite on defense, and that's how teams pick on us, having Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is dangerous, and
Yes.
I could see that situation turn out badly for us. But I am going to pick the Vikings because of what Daniel said here in the comments, that Dak needs a running game to really help him out. And I look at the backfield for the Cowboys with Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. They drafted Jadon Blue, who's more of a small but speedy type of guy. I don't think they're going to have much of a running game, and I think it's going to make them one-dimensional. And I think that we can get after him and rush him.
Yes.
So I'm going to say Vikings win in Dallas. So we all have the Vikings going to 11-3.
Real quick, on a quick tangent, Viking secondary. What are your guys' thoughts on Isaiah Rodgers? Because I'll be honest, I know next to nothing about him. This is basically in Flores I trust, because when he really wants a guy, it seems like that guy can play, like AVG. What are your guys' thoughts on Isaiah Rodgers? Because I think he's a key part of that secondary.
I don't doubt Flores, period. Like what you just said. And in Flores, we trust. I mean, when that guy calls his shot, he is seldomly wrong.
Correct.
So, and then when you look at the PFF grades, which, love them or hate them, I do subscribe to them for certain things. And with corners, it's hard to consistently grade well with PFF grades, right? And Isaiah Rodgers has consistently been one of the better graders in specifically man coverage, but both with zone as well. He's a smaller guy, but he's athletic as hell. He's fast. He's sticky. He doesn't commit penalties. And I think it could be a diamond in the rough type of signing. And he was like the second signing that we had in free agency. It was really surprising his name popping up.
I never heard of him until they signed him.
Yeah, and part of that was with him being suspended for a year.
I did see him because on Twitter, he posted, and it went kind of viral, his Eagles game jersey he wore in the Super Bowl. He put it on a mannequin in his home and posted it out and went viral. And that's the only reason I knew who he was when we signed him. And when I went and looked at him, I thought he was, like you said, Skoldock, sticky. I think he's a cover guy. I think he's scrappy. I think he fits with our team really well.
And here's the thing, Josh Metellus is essentially our nickel, right? So we really only play two corners a majority of the time. I really like Mekhi Blackman. I think that we've forgotten how good that kid was as a rookie. I don't think he missed a tackle his rookie season. He was a great tackler. I want to see what he's bringing after his ACL reconstruction. He's going to be back and ready to go. And then, of course, you have Byron Murphy, who is just an excellent zone corner who reads the quarterback so well and led the league in cornerback interceptions last year. So I'm not as down in the room as other people are, but when you look at the construction of the team, I think that has probably the most question marks in terms of the room itself versus other rooms.
I agree, and I agree with you also on the fact that I'm not down on them as other people are, because Stephen Gilmore played very well last year, but he is 34 years old. He is not a guy that's going to run with elite receivers. He's good at positioning and that kind of stuff. I think the three players this year are way more athletic than the three guys we had last year. Shaq Griffin is not very fast at all anymore. And now speed is not the only thing that matters, but I think we're more talented in the cornerback room. We're not obviously as experienced, but I think this has a chance to be a better secondary than last year that was actually a pretty good secondary.
I agree. Dave, let's take us to the next game after the Cowboys. So we all have the Vikings at 11-3 right now.
Vikings.
Yeah,
just went over. I saw this game on the schedule and I thought to myself, what a great spot for this game on the schedule, because when you look at this game, this is the automatic win to me, right? Like, you're not losing to the Giants this year. And it's really nice that so late in the season when you're fighting for seeding, just give me an automatic win at the end of the year, something that we can just mark as a W and move on. And that's what this game is for me.
Yep. Real quick. So what are your guys' thoughts on Jackson Dart? Because I look at him and I think he's got bust written all over him. But then Dan Orlovsky comes out, and I like Dan Orlovsky. I know he can be, sometimes he says some things, but I think he's intelligent with his analysis, and he loves Jackson Dart. And I don't get that. I don't see it. I think he's got bust all over him.
I'll be honest. I didn't do any homework on the quarterbacks this year because we don't need one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a sexy class. So I don't know, to be honest with you, but like early in the process, he wasn't being talked about like a first round talent. And usually, historically speaking, when you have guys who go like at the end of the first round, it doesn't work out super well.
Or move up a lot. Christian Ponder.
Or move up a ton. Like Jordan Love is a guy who went late first round, but he was talked about as a better prospect. He was supposed to go earlier and he fell down the board. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not talking about those kind of guys who like fall down. Same thing with Teddy Bridgewater. He was thought to go a lot earlier than number 32 overall. So I'm talking about the guys who teams trade up and just kind of take a flyer on. And again, Lamar Jackson, another example. But again, with the league, that was back when the league was not really in on the running quarterback, right? Like you had people, Bill Polian, saying, oh, he's a running back, right? And so I think the league has learned their lesson with guys like that.
Yeah, Lamar was phenomenal at Louisville. There was no reason for him to get drafted that low other than the fact that he was a running quarterback.
I loved him. I thought that we should have picked him over, signing a guy like Kirk, but that's revisionist history. But to answer your question, I just don't have a solid opinion on Jackson Dart. But I will say that the Ole Miss offense is like a Looney Tune offense.
Yes.
So I don't know what to say other than I'm not high on it. He's certainly not on the caliber of a J.J. McCarthy.
No.
He's just not. So the cards are stacked against him a little bit, but we'll see.
One of the things about Jackson Dart that I do see is that he goes into the facilities and learns everybody's name.
Mm-hmm.
He knows everybody's name. And then when he was doing an interview, he asked all the press to say who they were and where they were from, so he would remember their name. So it's one of those things is he seems to have a lot of leadership qualities about him. And I think that's what pushes people up boards too if they don't have enough talent. Physically, I think he's a pretty mobile dude, right?
He is. He's a good athlete.
And a decent arm and everything. So it's like just like Skoldock, I didn't look at him because we weren't going to draft the quarterback.
So Daniel's telling me not to sleep on the Giants. Do I have too much hubris or something?
Sleeping on them. I'm sleeping on them.
Oh, I'm comatose on him. I think
Comatose.
Daboll is a good offensive coordinator. I think he's a terrible head coach. I think that GM is I wish they were on.
He was coach of the year.
Oh my God! I wish they were on. What's the HBO thing? I mean,
Hard
that
Knocks.
was-
Knox.
That
The,
was
the
knowing that
GM's son is better than the
Yeah.
GM.
knowing that we were playing.
Jaden Daniels, you only get this job once, he said.
Oh my God! I love to watch that Hard Knocks, and it just because that GM is wow.
I hope they do the offseason Hard Knocks again. I thought I heard scuttlebutt that because it went so poorly for the Giants that they weren't going to do that anymore.
It was going to go to Carolina. It was going to go to North Carolina, but the girlfriend of Belichick screwed it up for him.
Oh really?
It was going to go to the North Carolina Tar Heels.
I'm hearing
Make
that
it a college team.
I'm hearing that Belichick might not even make it to week 1.
Yeah, that's a strange situation. That is a strange situation.
So weird. So we all have the Giants.
When you're 70, don't date 25-year-olds. It's just it's not gonna work. Don't date 25-year-olds when you're 70.
I would just feel weird, and I'm 52, and I'd be like, I mean, I'm 9 years older than my wife, but that was pretty normal. That's pretty, we got together later in life. She was 28.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is a different story.
I care way too much about what people think about me as a bad character flaw of mine to date someone like 50 years younger than me. There's no way I could do that.
I don't have the energy for it. I'm sorry. There's no way that's
Be
happening.
attracted to a kid.
Yeah.
Dude, that's messed up. All right, let's move on. So the Vikings win in the Meadowlands, and they play Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
I can't pick the Lions over the Vikings at home on Christmas Day. What kind of fan would I be?
They're fighting for their playoff lives, the Lions, but the Christmas Day at home is a big advantage. I think players like playing on Christmas Day because their family's going to be together. They play the game. They're not on the road somewhere.
Yep.
It's great playing at home on Christmas Day, and I think that's a big advantage.
I saw Alec Anzalone from the Lions quote tweeted this or something and was shaking my head. He was not happy to be traveling to Minnesota and be playing on Christmas Day.
On a short week. We saw last year playing the Rams. It is so hard to travel on a short week, and that we get this game at home. And I mentioned it before, but this is a game where you're going to see a massive difference between their offensive coordinator last year and their offensive coordinator this year. Massive difference.
So, do we all have them winning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Gentlemen, Vikings are 13-3 for all of us. Wow.
Just like last year. No, we were 14-2 last year.
And that takes us to week 18, Packers and Vikings at home, timing TBD. Shit. I'm going to say the Vikings lose this game, guys.
Come on.
They're going to lose this game because they're resting their starters. They already have the 1 seed locked up.
Okay. All right.
I have a feeling that we're not the 1 seed. We have no way of getting to the 1 seed, and we
lost
said because we're the 2 seed.
I agree with Skoldock. I think because we're locked into the 2 seed, can't get the 1 because
I thought that he thinks they're locked into the 1.
Oh, I think we're locked. Well, then I agree with Dave. Either way, we're locked. But I think because we lost the Eagles, I think our path to the 1 seed would be closed. I think we'd be locked into the 2 seed, and maybe we rest our starters. Otherwise, we're not losing the Packers at home. But we'll rest our starters. That's fine.
And then Dave, are you going to have this as a win or a loss?
Loss.
Okay.
Locked into the 2 seed and rest our players.
The real reason I chose this as a loss is because I don't think the Vikings are going to win 14 games again this year. And I needed to put another loss on the schedule. It probably happens at Detroit back when I picked them to win, and that would have made them 3 losses in a row at that part of the schedule. But I think 13-4 is probably the ceiling of where this season can end up. Yeah. Makes sense for us Vikings fans to be picking them at the ceiling on a day like today because we're having fun and we're excited about the season. But I will say that the floor feels like it's 10 wins to me. It feels like a very good season's coming up for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think the NFL has telegraphed that to us with the amount of primetime games they've given them.
Completely agree. This is what happens when all of your tough games are at home and your more easier games are on the road, you're going to have a chance in every single game. Because even the losses we picked, Eagles at home, I picked them to lose. That is not an automatic loss. If that was in Philly, I'm checking that box. That is an automatic loss because we don't win in Philly. Ravens at home, we are going to have a shot to win that game. So when you have your best games at home and your easiest games on the road, you're going to have a chance at a really good schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So we all ended up.
I think it was set up well this year. We have a lot of good things about our schedule.
I love the schedule. I really do. And again, December 14th, Cowboys, perfect time of year. It's going to be so much fun.
I agree. I love the way the schedule fell. I think we broke it down well. Steve, you were awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you in the future because you are a great guest.
This was fun.
I did want to point out CJ McCauley is one of our big fans, followers of the show. He sent me his entire schedule prediction. He had the Vikings going 11-5. He had losses to the Bengals at home.
That's a tough one.
He had us losing to the Steelers in Dublin.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. The Eagles at home, and then at Detroit, the Ravens at home, and then at Green Bay. So
those are all reasonable.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said, I saw the window for the Vikings 10 to 13 wins. He ended at 11-5. So I like it.
Completely reasonable.
Daniel says 11 wins as well in our comments.
I think 10-7 is the floor. And you guys probably heard Colin Cowherd's comments. God, he brags on the Bears so much. I think anything less than 10-7 to me would be a massively disappointing season if anything less than 10-7.
So somebody made a good point. Colin actually just moved to Chicago.
Yes.
So that's probably having a little bit of bias in his mind, just being in the city. And the Bears made a lot of sexy moves this offseason, particularly on offense, right?
Yes.
And Ben Johnson highlights those moves. But defensively, for me, the Bears have a good secondary. I don't really love their front seven as much as the Vikings.
Sweat has fallen off. Sweat got, what did he get, 4 sacks last year?
Yeah, he needs help. He needs help. They brought in Grady Jarrett, which I thought was one of the most overrated moves of the entire offseason. He hasn't been good for multiple seasons. He's very old. I thought Jonathan Allen is a better player at this point of his career, even though he's also on the downslope of his career. He's not as bad as Grady Jarrett has been. And then Hargrave as well, a little bit older, but he's still getting after the passer better than Jarrett as well. So just kind of goes back to my points, just picking against the Bears and like their optimism for the offseason, comparing it to the Vikings. I still just see the Vikings as a more talented roster. But the caveat to that is I think the Bears made more moves with players who have less injury risk than the Vikings did, like Jonathan Allen, Hargrave. They have some risk to their game.
Absolutely.
Our right guard, Will Fries, Kelly, they're also coming off injuries. So like, I can understand that argument where if these guys get hurt, things are going to look different for Minnesota pretty quickly. But with that said, we have a pretty good injury history with our training staff led by Tyler Williams. I believe that's his name, Tyler Williams. And they just know how to manage their players extremely well. And we'll cross our fingers that, they stay healthy.
Hey, real quick on the Bears and Caleb. You guys probably listened to Thor Nystrom on Purple Daily. I thought Thor had just a brilliant observation about Caleb Williams and the marriage with Ben Johnson, about Ben Johnson's offenses are progression very quickly. Boom, boom, boom. Timing and bring the ball out on time. That is the worst thing that Caleb is good at. He is so bad about not staying on his time schedule, pulling the ball down and wanting to play hero ball. He's done it all the way through college, did it all the time last year. I wonder, is that going to be an issue with them, with Caleb being able to play the way Ben Johnson wants his quarterbacks to play?
No, I 100% agree with you. And he showed us that last year that he did not play on schedule very well at all. And if there's one guy who can get him to do it, it's Ben Johnson. Now, if Ben Johnson cannot get him to do it, Caleb will be gone. Okay, he's going to have a couple years to see if he can do it. And if he can't do it, they're going to move on because he's going to find a guy like Jared Goff who can play on schedule. That's it. So we'll see how the experiment works. But I agree with Thor that it's not a match made in heaven as you may think it is. And Caleb, I will say, had more warts than I think fans are willing to give him credit for.
Yes.
He had some major red flags. And so, like, Bears fans, again, I live here. People say a lot to me, like, oh, you tweet just as much about the Bears as you do about the Vikings. Like, I live here, right? Like, I'm surrounded by Bears fans. I talk to Bears fans in my office every day. They like to point out his, like, interception to touchdown ratio, which was very, very good. I thought he played too careful to the point where it was detrimental.
Yes.
And it looked fine, and he threw for a lot of yards and everything, but I want to see him being aggressive and make it's okay to throw an interception here and there. Like, you know, no risk it, no biscuit. So I saw
someone post that the Chicago got a Pope before they got a 4,000-yard pass.
Yes.
That was hilarious. That is a very good tweet. I just want to point out. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
You're right. I thought Caleb last year was obsessed with not throwing interceptions. Back to the Vikings, I think that's why KOC loved having Sam more than Kirk, because Sam, I will say this, he was willing to put the ball down the field, because Kirk was that way too. I think Kirk was just too conservative for what KOC wanted him to do, and he loved that Sam would take those shots. Caleb was just, he would not throw the ball into and make his guys make a play because he did not want to throw a pick no matter what.
Yeah, Kirk doesn't throw that ball to Jefferson at Seattle, right?
Oh, and
that's a big boy throw.
I thought it was Sam's best play of the season. I thought that, other than the 97-yarder against the Niners, but in that situation, fourth quarter, losing, and step up in the pocket and throw an absolute dart to the outside because JJ had to turn outside and the safety was coming over. I thought that was Sam's best play of the season.
That was phenomenal. We're going to let everybody go watch the Wolves game now. I'm checking the score. The Wolves are... Oh, don't say it? Okay, I won't. I won't let you know. Can I tell you who's up at halftime?
Are we winning?
You are winning.
Okay.
The Wolves are winning at halftime. Yeah, don't say anything.
All right.
You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy.
So, good luck to the Wolves. Wolves in 5, hopefully. Just got another half to go. Steve, seriously, you have been an amazing guest tonight. You have you podcasted before? Because you were very good at this.
I've been on Dustin Baker's once or twice previewing last year, and last year I picked the Vikings to start 3-0, you know, beating San Francisco and Houston. Everybody just shredded me, and I posted it on my Twitter feed. It's pinned up there still that the Vikes were going to start 3-0 last year, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah, we are definitely going to have you back on the show. You've been awesome.
2 more times to become a friend of the program.
I would
that's
love
the
it.
rule. Dave, feel better, my friend. I will see you next week when we talk more Vikings. Everyone in the comments, thank you for joining us. It's been fun. And Skol.
All right, thanks, guys.